Natasha, how are you doing today?
Good. I'm really excited to be here with you guys today. So this is my second call on Peg Trail for GORE-TEX, but probably a new audience out here. So just excited to hopefully be a resource for you guys and answer any questions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to talk to you. Yeah, we had a conversation earlier in March. This is the second round, but there's so much to talk about. This is great, and I do look at all. I see a lot of our community on here that wasn't on the first call, so that's great. So we're gonna do this, and so Natasha, introduce yourself, if you will, to the community. What do you do at Nike? Where are you based? What is your favorite part of working there? Just a general introduction for us, if you will.
Yeah, you bet. So my name is Natasha Lewis, and I am the expert product manager that works on Nike trail footwear. So Nike is a massive organization, as you guys probably know, and we're broken down between apparel and footwear, but then even within apparel and footwear, we have subcategories. So I technically sit under Nike running, and then really have a sharp focus on trail running. So I've been with the company for, oh man, I just like surpassed 16 years. It's definitely been a wild ride, but I've been working
Wow.
on Nike Trail specifically for almost the last 4 years.
So 16 years at Nike, Nike Trail for the past 4 years. So what has been your career trajectory? I'm always curious about how folks get these amazing jobs and like how you got into this. Where did you begin at Nike 16 years ago?
Really, I began my career, at almost the bottom and was able to work my way up. So worked at the gym for a couple years. I moved into like a senior administrative assistant role. I was able to work on some system support roles for the product creation team, which is what I'm part of now. And then ultimately landed a job as a product line manager in women's training footwear. So I did a couple different stints in women's training. We have it's broken out into two different kinds of businesses at the time. So I
Mhm.
was able to manage both of those.
Hmm.
And I did a big stint in what we call it was sub 100 product. So running product that you would see on like maybe like a shoe carnival or a famous footwear, Kohl's.
Mhm.
Um, then ultimately, landed in running and then now trail running. So it's kind of been like a little bit of everything, all different price point product. Everything's always been focused on performance, but definitely different sports within performance.
But that's fascinating that you could start in the gym and then just sort of just as jobs came up and as you saw opportunities, you seized on them and jumped forward. And here you are managing a whole section of Nike, which is pretty fascinating. So well, that's really cool. So you've seen a lot of different parts. Right now, you are in trail running, and so obviously, and you mentioned Nike is a very large organization. And how much autonomy do you have within trail running? Or how do you borrow resources from the rest of Nike, and then how do you get your own autonomy in trail running? What does that feel like at
Yeah.
Nike?
Yeah, I think trail running is a really special place here. It's we sit underneath the larger Nike umbrella. So we have, I mean, I'm sure you guys are familiar with some of our like more racing product. Think about the Alpha Fly, the Vapor Fly, and then we have some really cool road running shoes. So the Pegasus, Infinity, Invincible. So I all of the people that manage that business, they're all my peers.
Mm-hmm.
But then within running, since trail running is just kind of like its own smaller bucket of running, like we kind of run it almost as an independent arm off of running. So we get, like, I think the perks are that we get access to all of the innovation, the resources, testing from what's happening within the larger running, I guess, brand through Nike, but then we have a lot of autonomy where we're able to kind of just go out and do whatever we want. When I say trail running is a special place, like the trail running community, the trail running athletes, Nike has people don't usually know. We have a roster of sponsored athletes in North America. It's closer to between 10 and 15 athletes. And then we have sponsored athletes in Europe as well. So we kind of get, because we are smaller, we kind of get to just run our own ship. And trail running is such a grassroots community that, like, even though I'm a product line manager, we're constantly like connecting with sports marketing, meeting our athletes, being able to go out to all of these
Mhm.
trail events, testing our products with like real, trail runners in their environment. So it's just really fun because we kind of are able to define our journey, but we're doing it in partnership with like the actual community, which is really
That
fun.
sounds, it's super cool. Like you have access to these amazing resources like technologies and maybe production and engineering within Nike, but then you get to operate as this more dynamic, this more responsive unit and get to work with your athletes and also have a little, just be able to move a little bit quicker probably within that
Yep.
that world and come up with interesting products. So let's talk about the Peg 4 here because that is why we're here. This shoe. Well, has this shoe been successful in the market?
Oh yes, the Peg, our Peg Trail and Peg Trail GORE-TEX are one of our most popular shoes within the trail, our overall trail portfolio. Like very successful. They are number one and two.
It's pretty cool. And so these shoes are really resonating with audiences. And so how this is the fourth iteration. When you decided to sit down and kind of come up with this iteration, how first of all, how long ago was that? Because how I'm curious, always curious about the production cycle, but
Yep.
really, where did you begin? What were you looking for motivation? What were you trying to accomplish with the Peg 4 Trail Gore-Tex?
Yeah. So product, I'm going to speak for Nike Trail, but it takes us about 2 years to create a new product. And that's just from what we call brief all the way to box. So,
Okay.
what brief is this is where we start to get our insights. This is where we, again, engage with our community. We start to engage with our athletes. We go out and we talk to our accounts and try to just collect as much information as possible on this new shoe that we're about to kick off. I mean, I'm going to step back one before we even get into that and just kind of give you guys an overview of who is involved in the product creation process of a shoe. So when I say we go to brief and we collect our insights, the we is an entire team that is focused on this one shoe that's going to go to market, and it consists of a shoe engineer. We have a color designer, we have a product developer, we have a materials developer, we have a materials designer, we have a product designer, then we have the PLM, we have a finance person. It really is like a group collective effort, and everybody is focused on, in this particular instance, the new creation of the Pegasus Trail for GORE-TEX. So we went out, go to visit some trail. Literally, we want to be out in the environment with the community, and then we'll start doing some focus groups, and we'll collect data. It's kind of like this perfect combination of the art and the science. So we want to take our consumers and our trail runners into the future, but we also want to understand like what's working and let's not screw that up either. So
Yeah. So what are some of like the major learnings you had from that? Like what, if you could think of like two or three sort of, okay, this shoe really needed to accomplish this from what we heard. What are some of those in the Peg 4 Trail?
Yeah. So the Peg Trail really is meant to service what we call our road to trail crossover consumer. So this is meant for someone that is going to be spending their time maybe 50% on the road, 50% on the trail. Maybe you don't have time, you don't have luxury to, drive 2 hours to a trailhead. But what you do have time is, oh, shoot, I'm going to look at my clock. I got 30 to 40 minutes to go get a run in. I'm going to just leave my front door, run on the road to a local trailhead or maybe some off road paths, do a couple miles there, and then run home. So we wanted to focus one on making sure that we're servicing road to trail consumer. And then two, what makes this GORE-TEX is this consumer is looking for something that is going to protect them from water. So how do we create a waterproof road to trail solution?
So
I think we've talked about this a little bit. I think that the other thing that makes Peg Trail a little bit more, the Gore-Tex version, a little bit more unique is what we're learning with this shoe is like, hey, there's a build use case, and this is built for the road to trail consumer who wants waterproof protection. But the use case is yes, it goes on the road to the trail, it goes to trail races. However, there's a lot of people that are wearing this product as just an everyday, almost utility piece with their outfit. So, hey, I'm going to go walk the dog. I'm going to go drop my kids off, and it's going to be wet weather outside. So I'm
Yeah.
looking for some Gore-Tex protection. So it kind of is like the broadest use footwear within the entire trail line that
Hmm.
it services your everyday consumer that's looking for waterproof protection, all the way to our elite trail runners that are wearing this out on the trail for training runs.
Right. So it was super high performance shoe designed for this road to trail, waterproof for in wetter conditions, but also really needed to have this broader appeal. As you saw, as you went out and did that early market research, you found that this needed also to be somebody's everyday shoe, right? We are all wearing trail running shoes in our everyday lives now, going to the grocery store. So it needed to have that appeal. And so was Gore-Tex part of that appeal for that everyday? What are you noticing about the Gore-Tex brand and what it brings to the general appeal for folks?
Yeah, I think what we've learned, and this is definitely true in North America, and it's especially true in Europe as well. It's just like there is some really strong brand recognition with the name Gore-Tex. So people understand what Gore-Tex is. They understand the Gore-Tex technology. It is something that you immediately, if you see the label, you see the brand name, like it will be something that's trustworthy, and the consumers are confident that it was going to keep you dry. So it's unique in that definitely it's like very much performance oriented, but also turning into a little bit of this like really cool lifestyle thing that someone has to have, right?
It does seem that way, especially in footwear. That is really kind of adding. Not only does it add a technical aspect to it, extended use into wetter conditions, but it also adds another brand to it, right? And that people are really drawn to. It's kind of neat to see that. And you definitely called that out on this shoe a little bit with larger Gore-Tex branding on it and things like that, which was fun to see.
Yeah.
So is the Gore-Tex version just a Gore-Tex version of the Peg 4 Trail, or what is different? What did you need to do in the Gore-Tex version to really make it be optimized for what you saw as its end use?
Yeah. So we treated this as in its own individual model, right? So in Nike running, we have a road running shoe called Pegasus. That is like our workhorse. It is like the staple running shoe. Then we have a Pegasus trail version. So then we're like, hey, this is your offering. If you're someone that loves the Pegasus and running in it, but maybe you're going to be hitting some of the trails, like the Pegasus trail would be a really good introduction into the trail world. And then we have the Pegasus Trail Gore-Tex. So knowing that we, went out to get specific insights for this, we're like, what do we need different in the Gore-Tex version that maybe we don't want to offer or we don't need to offer in the regular version of the Peg Trail? And this is what you're going to see the differences come to life. And the first one's going to be around just the general silhouette. So here's an example right here. You're going to see that it's a little bit of a higher silhouette, and it has that additional like ankle, what we call gaiter or cuff. And it's there to really try to minimize the amount of debris that's going to get in your shoe, especially when you're out on a trail run. The second thing is going to just be the entire like upper material package, right? So this entire shoe has that Gore-Tex invisible fit membrane in it, and it's meant to keep you dry, but it's a really like clean look. Where you're going to see some of the similarities is through that brand. So if you look at the inline shoe, you're going to have that big swoosh. It's going to be in the same spot. You're going to have like similar eye stay, and you're still going to have that protection in the forefoot area. This Peg Trail Gore-Tex does share the same midsole and the same outsole design as what you see in the inline Peg Trail. But where there is a little bit of difference is going to be right here in the forefoot. So if you see both of the shoes and you put them up next to each other, you're gonna be like, wow, these look like they're almost the exact same. Well, there is one difference in it, and that is that rubber compound right here in the forefoot. On the Peg Trail Gore-Tex version, it actually is a compound that is better for wet traction. So
Okay.
knowing that we're trying to solve around waterproof protection, we're assuming that this consumer, this trail runner, is going to be taking this shoe into wetter conditions. So we want to get them better grip in those conditions. So that's where we've swapped out the outsole compound just right here in the forefoot, even though it looks almost identical to what you would see on the regular Peg Trail inline version.
Right. So adding like a stickier rubber into there, yeah, to really, because we know that's where it's going to go, right? Either wet
Yep.
pavement, wet logs, wet rocks. And so that is going to be more optimized for that in use. And I talk frequently with Jonathan Sweigel. I'm sure you know Jonathan well, who's our product or applications engineer, one of our applications engineers at Gore. He was explaining to me actually how integrating in the Gore-Tex Invisible Fit into the shoe actually lightened it up lightly or slightly from the inline version. When I say inline, I mean the non-Gore version. How is that possible? What went on in there that, like, what does Gore-Tex add as far as like structure, or how does that even? It doesn't. At first, it didn't compute. But explain to us in your
Yeah.
words like how that worked.
Yeah, because it is more of just a membrane. You kind of think about it's a piece of upper material, and then behind it is what we're actually like putting the Gore-Tex membrane on. So we're able to eliminate the layers, or at least like the thickness of the layers. We're able to decrease that. Now, our goal is to make sure that we have a very similar fit from the Peg Trail to the Peg Trail Gore-Tex. We would hate for someone who loves wearing the Peg Trail and now just wants the waterproof version to try the shoe on and be like, oh, dang it, it doesn't fit the same as my, regular Peg Trail. So our goal is make sure that it has the same fit, but utilize this technology, the Gore-Tex technology, to create that really nice waterproof protection. But because of the way that the Gore-Tex membrane is applied to this upper, it actually does reduce some of the weight and make this a really lightweight shoe. And it is a little bit lighter than what you're going to get with the regular Peg Trail inline version. Now, that was really important for us because we are not trying to create a waterproof shoe that is only seasonally relevant, let's say, in like the cold season of holiday. We learned through some of this insight work, back to, going out in the very beginning, is that, wow, maybe like 5 years ago, people were wearing our Gore-Tex shoes only for holiday or like rainy spring season. This shoe is now being worn 365 days a year. Marshall and I like kind of laughed about one of the quotes that we got during our insights trip about a gal is wearing the shoe in, when she has all of her summer storms in Florida. So the shoe really is meant to be that most like versatile hybrid shoe that you can wear every day of the year. It's not around making sure that you're warm and protected in the cold weather months. It's to make sure that you just stay dry no matter where you want to wear this shoe. So
if there's additional warmth, it's only because it comes from keeping your foot dry, right? Like that.
Exactly.
A dry foot, and as we'll get into with socks, a dry foot is a comfortable foot and therefore warmer, but it's not adding warmth to it, right? Especially with invisible fit technology. Those days are over. When we started to add visible fit in, it's not, unless there's insulation purposely added into an insulated version of a shoe, it's not a heat, it's not an insulation addition at all, which is what you're, and that's been the experience of people using this through your athletes, through the consumers as well. I'll give an anecdote. I bought my daughter a pair of those. She's running track this season for the first time ever. She's in 6th grade, and those are her shoes that she's running in. And the first time she got into those, she's like, it's like there's springs under my feet. She's like, I just feel more lively wearing these shoes than anything she's ever worn before. And they're the Gore-Tex versions, and where I live, it doesn't rain much, but she's super comfy in them, and just she's very excited. She's going to run the 800 meter in those, and I know they're not a track shoe, but they're perfect for her. So what that springiness she felt, let's get a little back in the tech. And I know this isn't a Gore specific thing. What is the foam that's being utilized on these, and how can we explain that to customers when they try them on?
Yeah, this is a full React midsole. So again, this is a lot of the foam that you're going to see come to life in some of our road running shoes. And the properties of this shoe is really it's a really nice foam that is more on the lightweight side, but it provides really good energy return. And it packs out, like we are able to make sure that it doesn't pack out as quick as maybe some other foam. So during testing and studying, what we're learning and what we're hearing from consumers is like, hey, maybe you're going to be 200 miles into the shoe, like you're still getting a really great step in and really good smooth transition because of the foam that's underfoot. It's just a really nice foam that if you've been able to try any of our road running shoes or maybe some of our other trail running shoes, like you're gonna understand exactly what I'm saying when I'm saying, straight out of the box to 200, 300 miles in, like it's still feeling really good.
Yeah, it seems like a cool foam. And again, that's part of that access to Nike's resources, right? You have teams developing foams constantly and testing them and understanding what their specific use case is. And then you get to choose from that library and play around and put that in there. It's pretty cool. So
Yeah,
this,
I think one thing to call out too is just like what's going to make this outsole unique compared to the rest of the trail running line here at Nike is it does sit in our road to trail line. So we want to make sure that it's not only is it intuitive, but it performs like equally good on the road in the trail. So that means we want to have that smooth transition when you're on the road, but then giving you that extra protection and durability that you're going to need on like loose gravel or dirt trails.
right? It's not a solid rubber platform like you might see on some of the heavier trail running shoes. It's also not just minimalist rubber on the bottom. You get a little bit of that mix and match with those different panels to make that smooth ride,
Yep.
which I know makes a big difference in the harder surfaces. So, well, I want to just throw it out to the audience out there. If any of you have any questions for Natasha, don't let me have all the fun here. So please chime in. You can just type them into the chat. We're monitoring that and type anything in. But I will throw this out, Natasha. What have you learned from the 4? And I know you can't reveal too much about the 5, but what types, what have you learning that you really want to continue forward in this? Like, what are some of the features in the 4 that you just thought resonated really, really well and maybe need to continue forward?
Yeah, honestly, like this product is a really, really good, like super versatile hybrid shoe that's going to work for the road to the trail. So it's like, again, how do you come up with that perfect equation that's going to be like still smooth on the road, but you're going to get that extra protection on the trail. I think what we're messing around with the 5, and you're going to actually see that launch pretty soon, is like how do we make sure that this appeals to like the most broadest consumer base as possible. So knowing that we 100% are building our product with performance first and foremost, we are testing it like at incredible levels. But from a visual aesthetic standpoint, like how do we make sure that this is appealing to that consumer that maybe is going to try trail for the very first time, but also be like very trusted to our sponsored athlete that is wearing this on trail run. So you're going to see a slight update in design aesthetic, but I think as far as like the ingredients, some similar ingredients. We're really focused on sustainability in the next version, so you'll see some of that come to life as well.
Cool.
But keep a lookout.
No, I'm excited. I can't wait for that to drop. And you said it's coming soon, so I have not seen it yet, but I can't wait to get eyes on it. But I'm sure it will. For those who love the 4, will continue to love the 5, right? That's one of the biggest challenges is you can update it, but boys, it got to fit and ride the same, doesn't it? We have a question here around fit. Is this sort of explain, if you will, your approach to the volume of the shoe? And then we have a question here from Kevin, just how do you develop your last shapes?
So when it says, is it a mid volume, are we talking about like, is it a mid cut or is that,
I think volume being maybe across the instep, sort of the amount of room in the instep of the shoe or the space.
Yeah. So, I don't have the exact stats with me right now, but one thing that I do want to make sure that you guys all walk away with, if it's anything, is like within our trail line at Nike, all of our shoes have a little bit of a wider forefoot. And this is because our trail runners are putting so many miles on this footwear that what happens to your feet is you tend to get a little bit more swelling. You're going to need that splaying. especially so that you are feeling really confident on those uneven surfaces that you experience when you're out on the trail. So if you were to put maybe a road running shoe on from Nike and then you put a trail running shoe from Nike, you will experience a little bit different sensation as it pertains to volume in that forefoot.
Great. So thank you. And hopefully, Kevin, that answers your question. Just it's always fascinating to talk about this shoe that is, I think when you develop it, it's got performance first and foremost in mind, adding in components and just feeling this shoe. It does feel like a shoe you want to run in. There's nothing about it that like, I want to put that on my foot and experience that. But then also it's really cool how you added in these sort of this appeal on it to really appeal to a broader audience. I mean, it just looks fantastic. And then the colors are amazing, right? Your colors must be so busy because there are always new colors coming out in this shoe constantly. It's super cool to see it and to hear from you, Natasha, about how it kind of came to be. So, I want to thank you for being with us here this morning, and chatting with us about your products. We look forward to chatting with you in the 5 drops and hearing a little bit more about that, if that's all right. We'd love to have you back.
All right. Well, thanks for joining in.
Have a great day out there, and good luck doing what you're doing.
Thanks. You guys too.
Take care. Bye.